So my name is Omar Ambasad. It's 4:16 p.m., November 28, 2023, 25 Bamberg Circle in Toronto. So I'm live streaming this. I'm going to give you some live data. There's the oxygen drop. So I just tweeted you tweets on my account, and I talked about these signals. So I'm going to do this live for you. A microwave detector. When there is motion, the signals go higher. So that's the electricity, that's the microwaves, RF, EF, and the EMF. So when the RF goes up, the EMF increases. So that's the hand tag at high electricity. And I'm permanently tagged. Keeping in mind that that I had all these symptoms for a very long time. When I was living in the Etobicoke area, when we moved in, when we came to Canada, that's where I lived. Because my father brought money over and he helped put the down payment on the house so everybody would live together. And the story of my family is a very interesting one. It's a story of sacrifice, hard work, um, determination, and the will to survive, and hope, and aspirations, and dashed hopes, and infiltration. When we came to Canada, my family was infiltrated by this organization that is now openly, before it was covertly and subtly. So now, after COVID, it's openly being practiced where this pyramidal um, social structure is being put into place, and it's of enslavement. It's of degradation, dehumanization, and enslavement, which is slavery. That's what slavery is all about. Taking away freedom of choice, taking away freedom, taking away your will, and making decisions for you is roboticizing you. This is enslavement. Making a human being into a robot is enslavement. It's murder and enslavement. Okay, so because they're murdering what you are, you're a human being, and then they're creating a transhuman, which is a robot. So they're killing you in effect to create another form of being, which is murder. Okay? And that other form, that transhuman, is going to be a slave. So this is what's being practiced at 25 Bamberg Circle here. There is an experiment going on, and again, I am not the only experimentee in this building. I've lived here for 20 plus years, and there's been a lot of heart attacks and a lot of cancers. People that I've known, that I've seen around for a while, and I've seen them get sick and see them just um, deteriorate into nothingness, walking skeletons, cancers, heart attacks, burnt skin, collapsed faces, marks, microwave marks on their skin, senility, walking with canes, walking with walkers, and sometimes it can be a slow deterioration, and sometimes it can be done quickly. So I am not the only target in this building. Um, when I came to Canada, I came here when I was 16 years old, and vulnerable in the sense that I was not city smart, and came into a conservative thinking um, household without realizing it, without realizing how conservative this person was, my brother, thinking that he's living in Canada and it would be different than my father, who was very strict. And given that time, it was fine. In that country, it was fine. Um, but in Canada, I didn't expect. In retrospect, I didn't think about it. Um, it was more subtle. But anyways, so that's a little bit of a peek in my history. Anyway, so back to what's going on here in 25 Bamberg Cycle, which of course is connected to what went on in the Etobicoke area because the procurement takes place in the entire country and of course now in the world. We repeatedly hear about um, slave rings, um, human trafficking rings for labor, for body parts, for sex, of course, um, for all sorts of experimentation. You procure for all sorts of reasons. In my case, I was procured for, well, it's hard to say exactly because I think in retrospect, um, a lot of the experiences that I've had when I was younger was a lot of if I compare the manipulated dreams that run through right now, and now I know what's going on. I think it was more training because I think the big organizations were, and I worked with a lot of big organizations, um, you know, huge, like huge organizations. Um, I think it was customization, and I don't think it was for sex at first. I think it was for the demand, the labor demand. And then when I came here in this building and the area turned Chinese, then the Chinese took over the contract, and then the nature of the contract and the nature of the experimentation and the goals of the experiments being run were different because the Chinese were running it. So then, of course, everybody knows that there's a lot of corruption in China, and there's a lot of trafficking in China. No human rights and everything that could possibly be done to a human being is being done, violated, and that is being exported here in the Western world, not only in Canada, all over. So the uh, the uh, the Chinese traffickers um, set it up so I could be sold remotely. And I'm sure there's a lot of rings in Toronto and a lot of buildings in Toronto, like mine, are being set up this way because buildings are very convenient to do this. They're very convenient buildings, very conveniently. Let me say that again. The buildings are very convenient for this sort of trafficking because they're literally boxes placed on each other. And you can place this technology, this tracking and torture and surveillance technology anywhere around the unit and look at you clearly like you're naked, and then sell you basically. So in my case, the corrupted cops are getting flags in place to continue the surveillance, which is really trafficking, cover for trafficking, and the cops are using the targets that they flag for their experiments as well. So the cops are experimenting with the alert system. So orange alert, red alert, green means okay, you're ticked off, and so on. That is the police's experiment. However, because also cover this setup also covers procurement for sadomasochistic torture, rape, and kill. Some of the dirty cops are also logging on and doing this crime, just like the Chinese are doing it right now. Blacks and they're subcontracting. So there's a main account holder and then the subcontract. So anybody who calls about you, basically, if you're going around about your business, which I do, and somebody calls the cops on you, most likely they're connected with the subcontractor. And I try to tell this to the cop who came to my door because somebody said I had a camera in my hand. So now everybody have a camera in their hands, right? Everybody have a phone. Everybody have a camera basically in their hand all the time. But anyway, these cops came to my door because somebody said I had a camera in my hand. Number one, number two, that I was in the same place of this person more than once, which was a train station, and I was working at the time. So you know, they just use this as an excuse to call the cops. So interception, that's an interception. And the cops came, and because the cops were running the program and they have the contract, the cops will bamboozle you because that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to cover the experiment and they're supposed to bamboozle you, lie to you, and they're supposed to terrorize you into shutting up, which is exactly what they did. They pronounced me with two mental illnesses. And that was only one interaction with the cops. And they did the same thing, actually, a lot worse than that, when they falsely charged me when, again, their subcontractors called and they came to my house and pulled me out without any questioning, like they did the first time, under the Mental Health Act. They pulled me out twice. Under the Mental Health Act, nothing came of it. And they tried to charge me and make the charge stick. Of course, it wouldn't stick because it wasn't true. There was no evidence. But they had to go through and charge me because they wanted me arraigned. So afterwards, Gil Furtado was talking to somebody outside the window, and he talks a lot to his contractors, his subcontractors. And I learned afterwards from him, basically, because he talks, that the meetings that they had at the time, the account holder, which was my sister-in-law, was calling for, and Badr Nizar was calling for an arraignment. Well, you can't get an arraignment without a charge. So it doesn't matter. It didn't matter whether I was guilty or not. They just wanted the arraignment. So they needed a charge to go through. So the cops, the way it's set up, the cops contract out their contract, the military contract. So the contractor, the main contractor, tells the cops what they want, and the cops follow through with it because the main contractor have the power to do that. So they did come to my house twice and pull me out. One under the Mental Health Act because two Muslim families lied and set me up for Gord, who was the main contractor at the time. They did the same routine. They crossed my path. They knocked on my door. They made noise and said I did it, basically. So everything they did, they accused me of doing it. And this was the cover, and this is an accepted cover for the cops because the cops are telling them what to do. So what I'm talking about basically here is a conspiracy and a collusion between several people. The cops, who's running the program, well, a few of the programs, because the criminals could run their programs as well, because it's all governed and all fixed. The cops, the judges, the lawyers, the people in this building who are taking part, the family who's taken part, the family members who's taken part, and the people in the workplaces who are taking part as well, like Craig, for instance. I learned from Gil Furtado that Craig said I solicited him. It was just the opposite. Craig solicited me. He pursued me via email, two emails, to come work for him. One when I was already accepted by another employer, and there was another email asking, if it didn't work out, come work with him. But I didn't know at the time that there were meetings about these placements. These placements were predetermined by the manager of the account and by the meeting, the people who took part in the meeting. So they pretty much decide who hires me. So when, of course, the first employer didn't work out because I was being harassed in the workplace because they had the contract to run experiments on me, and they were. When that didn't work out, then Craig picked up the contract. And once he got the contract, he flagged me, got the contract, he fired me. 2 weeks. That was it. And he had the contract. So this happened over and over. Badr Nizar did the same thing. My sister-in-law did the same thing. Gil Furtado did the same, is still doing the same thing. Gord, Anita Tang, Karen Kwok, other people in the building, they're doing exactly the same thing. They're flagging, taking the contract, and then kicking you out. So right now, when the account is global, and uh, and several people are logging on, not only to me but to other people as well. They don't want me in the building basically because it gives the building um, a bad name. Well, I'm not the one who's giving the building the bad name. There's trafficking going on in the building. The people who are doing the trafficking is giving the building a bad name, which is the board members, Gil Furtado, people who are working for the board, all the contractors working for the corporation. These are the people who are taking the contract. And they can subcontract to anybody. So people who are calling the cops about me are people who are working with the contractors. I don't stalk. I don't steal. Everything my sister-in-law said about me, reported about me, I heard she found me naked in her house. Well, I weigh myself before I go take a shower, and I usually strip to take that accurate weight. And she walked. There was nobody in the house. The scale was in the basement next to the furnace with no windows. So and you could barely see the numbers. So and she walked in. So there was no walking naked in the house. That but she twisted to make it look like I was doing something wrong. Lies like this, she's done repeatedly. She's lying about me to paint me. This is a painting to cover what is actually going on here, which is remote trafficking. So this needs to be exposed. Number one, and the signals. There is another aspect to this exposure. Not only my talking, I am posting the effects of the tracking, which is using the microwave system. Microwaves affect your body. So what I'm posting is the effects of the tracking on my body. So this is electronic imprisonment, it's electronic torture, it's electronic rape, and of course it's electronic murder. So this is going to be in a courtroom because I have so much evidence. I've been doing this for 3 years now that is collecting the data, which shows exactly the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. And no diagnosis means a cover up. When I show the doctors the evidence, um, the doctors say things like stress. Um, Mainly, they try to make it look like something's wrong with me mentally. Well, how is that possible when I have 3 years worth of data showing exactly the same thing from an FDA cleared device? Okay, so there is something wrong with that. And if I run the data through AI, somebody slammed the door. Sounds like the Muslim woman next door. Um, don't like me talking because she's one of the perpetrators. A lot of the people on the floor are. They have power over you, and they make it known that they have power over you, like that slamming of the door, intimidation, terrorization. This is part of life at 25 Bamboo Circle. Again, this is going to be in a courtroom. So I'm saying this verbally to show that number one, to demonstrate the effects of the 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 um, the torture. Like my face was swollen as I tweeted. The right side of the face was swollen. So the technology collapses veins and arteries. They shut down the lungs. They shut down the heart. So they're trying to shut down the brain. So and the veins. So the vein was collapsed, and I woke up, of course, because my head was hurting and it was hot. It was getting really, really hot. And when I woke up and I turned my head, because as soon as you move the angle, the beam that they're using changes position. So it the vein comes back up if they don't cut it, and they could do that. Believe me. You could use a laser, a cold laser, and cut it, and cause internal bleeding and kill you basically, because you're being remotely operated on. Anyway, last night as I turned, I could hear the blood rushing into my head, and it's like it was like a freight train running through. You could actually hear the blood rushing back into the head. And my sister said had the same experience. She said she heard this noise in her head that sounded like a freight train running through it. It only lasted for a few seconds, and when I woke up, the right side of the face was swollen. Now, as you can see, it's not swollen. It is slightly swollen, but it's not as bad right now because the blood, of course, reabsorbed into the body. So the doctors are not going to tell you this. We live in a very corrupted world. The medical field is extremely corrupted, as we all starting to realize. And we are all being bamboozled because we are living in this world in which the elite, the small group of people, think that they have the right, and we're being told this, right? This is not conspiracy. Klaus Schwab is openly talking about this. We are being told that we're going to have a chip in our head and somebody else is going to lead us. We're going to have guides. So, and we're not going to have a free will anymore. We're not going to own a house. We're not going to own a car. We're not going to own our bodies. Our bodies are going to be connected to an internet or connected to another human being or connected to a transhuman, connected to a robot telling you what to do all the time. You'll always be getting feedback, and something else will be making decisions for you. Because as Harari says, the algorithms will know you better than you know yourself. So this is all about transhumanism. It's all about running algorithms on your body and algorithms in your brain. It's all about using algorithms to extract data from you in order to manipulate you, to cannibalize you for money, for medical information, to run experiments on you, for whatever reason that they can think of. So, as Harari also said, to quote him, we're going to have all these people who are excess human beings that's not needed anymore because now we have robots doing it, doing their work. And the digitization is going to eliminate all the jobs that most people are doing right now. Because, for instance, I'm an accountant, wouldn't need an accountant anymore. It'll be all computerized, very easily done. It's just a matter of putting the infrastructure in. Then you'll have all these people sitting around doing nothing. And what are we going to do with them? He says. Well, keep them busy. And how are you going to keep them busy? Well, give them video games and drugs, believe it or not. So, what do we see today? We see alcohol, we see marijuana, we see sites where you could shoot up drugs, free drugs, basically. You've got to be drugged out because you have nothing else to do. Got to keep you busy, play video games, be on the computer all day, talk to your friends, do whatever, but nothing constructive. Like sit inside your house in front of a computer so they can access you and cannibalize you and data mine you. So they can build algorithms so they can make money. Okay. So I just needed to say this because it's crucial. It's crucial that it's talked about because I could go to bed one day and I wouldn't wake up. Guaranteed that could happen. Absolutely, and it can happen to anybody, not only me. Because if the technology is being used on one person, of course it's being used on, you know, I say by now I'd say it's being used by on everybody, on every single person, especially in cities. Maybe not in the Amazon yet, but it's getting there. But definitely in the big cities around the world, this technology is already being used. And if they want to export the technology, all they have to do is just extend it via satellite. Because believe me, you could be killed via satellite. You could be tracked via satellite. You could be killed via satellite. Because the network that's being put up right now, um, by by names that you probably read about. This satellite link, what is it, Starlink? You can pretty much do anything via satellite. Track, rape, and kill. Torture, rape, and kill. I'm not saying that's the purpose. I'm saying it could be used that way. Okay, so 25 minutes. I'm going to stop there. I just needed to say that because last night when I saw my face all swollen, um, and I knew what had happened because I could see and it wasn't the first time it happened. Um, it's important that I talk about it because if I go to sleep and I don't get up, I don't want somebody to say, "Oh, she killed herself," because I also heard Gil Furtado shouting and some other people outside the window shouting, "Oh, she's going to kill herself. She's suicidal." There is absolutely no suicidal tendency here, none whatsoever. I mean, if I was suicidal, I wouldn't be trying so hard to keep healthy. I mean, the things I do to keep healthy, it's unbelievable. So, I shield myself. Anyway, I'm not going to go into details, but there's no suicidal tendencies here. And there is absolutely no depression whatsoever. I, I'm going to be, I'm 63 right now. I'm planning my retirement. Um, and that has something to do with owning my own business and doing something that I really absolutely love and enjoy, and trying to put things together financially to get that done, and trying to build a network to get that done. But of course, I'm being blacklisted. What is going on here in this building is isolating. A target is to be isolated because a target is dangerous, right? We have dangerous people out here. Mind you, they're tracking us, they're torturing us, they're raping us. And by now, a lot of people are targets, especially people who are not vaccinated. And they're killing us, but they're afraid of us, right? We are the ones that's supposed to be feared. Interesting. Very interesting. So we live in an upside down world. Black is white, truth is false. Lies are truth. The facade is truth. Always keep up the facade. You know, put on your poker face if you could remember who sang that song. Part of the elite. Talk to you another time.